installed straight from Mopar. That's the old one over there. That thing was super dead, even with the jump box. It was barely turning over. So now we have a new one in. I can't start it yet, and I'll show you why. If you watched the old video, when I took off the supercharger belt and the accessory belt, I was hoping that the issue was coming from the supercharger itself, but it turned out not to be. So as you can see, spinning the supercharger, the bearings sound pretty good. And I was getting ready to drop the motor. Right before I was, a friend of mine called me, he watched the video, and said, before you do that, you should take off the right side valve cover and inspect the push rods right over there. And I come to find out that we have a bent push rod on the intake right over there. I don't know if you see that on camera, but I did see some of you guys in comments and people commenting about that. I mean, it's clearly the issue. The other ones are tight. This one is making a lot of noise. The only concern I have now is I'm not sure if these push rods are different than any other like Red Eye or Demon. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take it apart. There's 5 10mm bolts holding it in place. We'll take off the rocker. We'll take off the bent push rod. I'll take off another one that isn't damaged, and we'll compare it. I'm trying to see if it has any like Mopar stamp on it or any part number. I'm gonna lay them down on this piece of plastic because the the service manual wants you to put them back the same way they came out. So I'll lay them down on there, clean them up, and then we'll go to the dealer, get a new one. And hopefully, if that's the issue, it's gonna be a simple fix. But taking off that valve cover was a pain, man. I had to take off everything. I even had to take off the supply that goes to the fuel rail. And if you guys have done this before, that thing is a challenge because there's a special tool for this that releases all these clips when it goes on here, and I don't have that tool, so I was sitting on there just fighting with it. So we got that off. I had to take off the harness, obviously. I had to tuck the bottom harness under the cylinder head so I can have enough clearance to take off the valve cover. I was fighting with this thing for over an hour. While we're here now, let's set up the tripod. I'll take off the rocker, and then we'll look at the bent push rod and see how it looks. All right, so I'm gonna break it by hand first. Got my ratchet, 10mm with a swivel. We'll break these loose. That's gonna be a challenge. All right, put my extension back on, and we'll start removing the rocker. Actually, I'm gonna keep the screws in here. And then we'll take this off. All right, got that removed. That's how that looks. I'm gonna set it right on this plastic. And then I'm gonna keep the other ones in there, but I'm gonna pull off. Damn, look at that. So that's the damaged one. Let me show you how a regular one's supposed to look. That's how it's supposed to look. So I'm gonna take one of these to the dealer and I'm gonna compare it. They show a couple in stock off of Red Eye. We'll compare the two, and if they're the same, we'll go bring one back home and throw it in there, and then hopefully everything is good. right, we're back in the garage. Got the new part. This thing was $6. Yeah, it's a cheap part, but there's a lot of work to put into this just to get it replaced. I already dropped the old one that I pulled out of here for reference, which was that one over there. Put it back in the same spot. Now we're gonna install the new one. But before we do, look at the difference. That thing's supposed to be straight. So we're gonna put that right in there. Just like that. They are gonna be loose just because the rocker's out of them. So we'll install that. I do have to look up the specs for torque on that, and then we'll get it reinstalled. I'm gonna set up the tripod, and then we'll do a time lapse of this, get it done, and put it back together. Once I get that back together, I do have to raise the car. That's why you guys see the jack over there. And then I have to tuck in the engine harness from behind the cylinder head. I had to drop it underneath just so I have enough clearance to pop off the valve cover. I do have to find 2 of these clips. They broke off pretty easy. They look just like that. And then put it back together, install the fuel line, the supply. I even had to take off the ground right there just because there's such a tight space to work. And the hardest part is gonna be putting in these coils because they're rubbing against this this fuse box harness. So we'll put it back together. We'll get it done, get it first start up, and then see how she sounds. it a start. Everything's put back together. I put on the supercharger belt and the accessory belt. Those things took forever, but let's give it a shot. Fix. That did the work. I'm gonna let it run for a minute. I'm not gonna give it any gas or rev it. Let it settle down, and then I might pull it out just because of the fumes. Let the temps get into operating, and then take it for a drive and see what happens. All right, it's been running for about 20 minutes. The temperature should be up to 200-ish. Yep, 217. Let's see how she sounds. Damn, she sounds good as hell. All that because of this. $6 from the dealer. Got it back. Running like normal. The next video is gonna be our first drive in it, and then we're gonna get it retuned. The customer wants to do some little changes, so that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you back on the next one.